Amen.
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 Amen. Thank you very much, Mrs. Salome. Okay, so today's
Amen.
program, we are going to be looking at driving change in the Ghanaian food environment. The time to act is now. And we have a lineup of panelists who are going to discuss some issues later on in the program. So we'll start off with some introductions. We have on the panel, we have in our midst Dr. Kinsley Pueko, the president of GAND. We have Mr. Percival Agodo, the vice president. We have Prof. Reginald Annan. He's the chair of the nutrition group, GAND. And we have all of you here joining us. I do not want to take Prof. Reginald's role away from him, since he will be moderating the session for the panel discussion, and he's going to be introducing the panelists. I do not want to start off with introducing the panelists. Okay, Prof. Soto, you have your hand up.
Yes, you talked about GAND. What is GAND? It may be a new word to some of us.
Yes, please. The president would soon come up and give the vice president will talk about GAND very soon. So he's going to introduce us to GAND, where we started and where we are now. So he's going to do that very soon. So please hold on. I'm going to share the program with all of us so we know what is going on.
Mauli says he can't hear us, but I think it's a problem with his mic. When you join, please just click on the audio, link with audio, so that you can hear. If you're having problems, then it means it's from your end.
Yes. So I have uploaded the World Food Day program lineup so we can all follow through. Okay. I think that I'll just allow Mr. Percival Agodo to go ahead with his presentation so we get on with the business for the day. Mr. Agodo, are you ready?
We are not hearing you. You can please click on the display slide so that it will be bigger.
Okay.
All right, so hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so good morning, colleagues. I'm Percival, and I'm just here to talk about GAND. GAND is the Ghana Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. Next slide. So, Sadam.
Yeah.
Next slide, please.
I have changed it.
Hello?
Percy, please, I've changed the slide.
It's moving
think
on our end. So if it's not moving on your end, it's your internet.
Yeah, so you need to press. Press again. There are arrows showing. So the next, maybe press the next.
You continue
keep
pressing
pressing.
them all.
Okay.
So what happened is that the profession that we belong to was defined in 2008 by the International Standard Classification of Occupations. It's a document that is available through the ILO, and the profession was numbered 2265, and that is dietitians and nutritionists. So basically, what the global community did was to define a name for one profession. And by 2018, Ghana decided to start the profession's regulatory bodies, and put it together in an act, and that introduced the Act 857, which forms the Allied Health Professions Council. Now, with that, it basically became necessary for nutritionists and dietitians to work together. And within that time, we were already collaborating on several things. We even worked on ANEC together to host ANEC in Ghana around 2013 thereabout. So by 2018, the leadership of the two professions, or the two arms of the profession, saw it wise to start looking at putting ourselves together, and by which time we started the conversations. And by 2019, July, we were inaugurated as the only professional body for nutritionists and dietitians in Ghana. Sadam, next click. And since then, what we have been doing is to build this professional body together, and to ensure that we are delivering on building our unique and defined properties as a professional body together. And that is where GAND comes in, including empowering our members. Next slide, please. Next slide.
Moved though.
Sadam.
Our vision. Yeah.
All right.
I have moved.
Yeah. Ella, do you have the vision now?
Hello, Percy. Please, I've moved to the next slide.
Hope he's not having challenges with his network. Hello, Percy. Sadam, can you continue for him?
Or maybe I can continue when he comes. Six over.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
please.
Okay. So the vision of the Ghana Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, that's GAND, is to represent and develop the nutrition and or dietetics professions to contribute towards achieving optimal nutrition for all Ghanaians, and to provide the most credible source of nutrition and food information as applies to health and diseases in Ghana. And like GAND, like the last said, that's what we have been working on since the two arms came together. Our mission statement is to have a progressive and dynamic organization which promotes a supportive environment by providing dynamic professional services responsive to the needs of members who are committed to promoting the profession and the standards of the profession in the country. And as I read the vision statement, the mission statement, you can see that this program as we're having now is really in response to providing that supportive environment for the profession in the country. You can move on, please, Senam.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
So Della, continue from our achievements.
Thank you so much for standing in. I apologize. My network is quite unstable. Salam, next slide, please.
Yeah, we are on our
Yes,
achievements.
Yeah,
You can go ahead.
So our achievements, the key achievements for me is that we have been able to register the professional body properly by the legal requirements of the country. So we are a legally recognized professional body in Ghana, and by our laws, which is usually what we refer to the Professional Bodies Registration Act in 1973, and NRC 143. We are the only professional body in Ghana, and which requires that every nutritionist and dietitian or anybody who works in the space of nutrition and dietetics would have to be registered with the professional body. Amongst that, we've over the period, regularly updated. We are looking on membership, working on membership. By far, we have practically the largest membership so far of any professional body in nutrition and dietetics space. We also have been able to organize congresses and professional development programs like this very one that we are hosting currently. And the goal has been to empower our members and create the opportunity for our members to become, to have the knowledge and the skill set necessary to represent the profession anywhere that we will find ourselves. Next slide, please. Next slide. Salam. Okay.
Please have gone to the next slide.
Wow.
Pictures of the.
Yes. So. Okay. I think I have a lag time on my device, but since I said some pictures of what we have done so far, we've managed to we have.
Hello, Della.
Della, are you there?
Then can you please mute
Recording
everyone?
Professor, please continue.
Yeah, so I can continue again. And so basically, these are some of the pictures of the achievements so far. And one of the key things we did was to organize our own conference, the COND, Conference of Nutrition and Dietetics, and that's the first conference we did together as two of the two arms coming together, and it was very significant. And for that conference, we had the First Lady of the Republic of Ghana to address as a special guest of Hannah for the conference. And so for me, it is one of the key things that we have done. Then we also collaborated with a few projects to have a national multi-stakeholder nutrition forum at the beginning of 2020. In fact, this was also very key because then it showed that the association is recognized by these multi-national projects that are also funded by research bodies to bring together the different groups to fora on issues that pertain to nutrition and dietetics in the country. And some of the pictures are what you can see over there. Senam, please, you can move on to the next slide. So who can be a member of the association? We have a constitution. The constitution spells out clearly who can be a member, and that is anybody with at least a diploma in nutrition or dietetics. And we have different cadres of membership that you can actually be part of. So you can be a full member, you can be an associate member, you can be a fellow of GAND, a student member, a corporate member, and an honorary member. We have in the constitution the guidance and the requirements for these specifics. And before time's sake, we cannot go through them now, but I hope that if you are interested and you contact us, we'll make sure that you have this to guide you in when you're deciding on which level you want to belong to. Please, the next slide. So what is the current membership of the GAND. Of course, we know that as an association that is supposed to be the voice for nutrition and dietetics in the country, everybody who has at least the diploma in nutrition and or dietetics is supposed to be part, but it will take a while to get to that point. On our way to getting there, we can say that updates from the Ghana Gazette published on Tuesday, April 26th this year, shows that as at that time, the nutritionists that are gazetted are 747, and then the dietitians are 360. Those of nutrition technical officers are 595. Dietetic technicians are 5, and the nutrition assistants are 1,735. And you can see that some numbers are low, but that's because some programs have now started, and then we expect that they will build up, and then we'll have more members, people who are gazetted to practice at all these levels. Please, next slide. What are challenges? What are opportunities? And I think that for every association, we are hoping that we become one of these big influential associations in the country. We all know the issues around nutrition and dietetics. Sometimes the confusion when everybody decides, people think that they are nutritionists because they know something about food or they know something about health. And so we must get to that place where we have addressed those challenges. And the things that we have to do to be able to address those challenges are the things that we see as our challenges. So structural and organizational issues. So where we can connect well with the Ministry of Health, the Ghana Health Services, and then the church, which is the missions or the churches or the religious arms of the Ghana Health Services, because they provide healthcare. And then at these levels, there must be nutrition professionals, dietetics professionals providing the requisite support, and then healthcare in situations where people need them. We are also working at getting to the place where all these aspects of our profession are standardized, so that no everybody doesn't get up and do just what they want, and but we are on our way. There's also issues around career progression and growth. It is, if you start somewhere, let's say within the nursing profession, you start as a staff nurse, you go to a nursing officer, you go to a senior nursing officer, then you go to a principal nursing officer, and you continue. We are hoping that we will also have those progressions in the different cadres of nutrition and dietetics in the country. And I'm happy that just somewhere this year, and it's part of our achievement, we had the opportunity to draw up different specializations within nutrition and dietetics, so that you can actually at a point be licensed for a pediatric nutritionist or an oncologist, dietitian, and so on and so forth. And then we are trying to have those things so that people can progress well. And then professionals, socialization and immunity, legal issues and all that. Thankfully, we have the services of a legal body and a rep from them who advises us on those issues. So these are challenges, but we see them also as opportunities to become better. Job recognition and satisfaction, which is where we work with our own members to feel the relevance of the association, and also to therefore have all other members who are qualified nutritionists and dietitians being part of the association. We are also having the issue of incomplete development of professional cadres, credentials and practice. They are related to the career progression as well. And so we are working towards that. And we are also working in many other areas as well, as we see them emanate within the profession. Please, the next slide. So we need to complete this quickly. I don't know how many slides are left since Percy is not here. But we are hoping that as a professional body, we'll rise to the status of being that body of nutrition and dietetics in all these areas: supervise professional practice, professional socialization, credentialing requirements, professional autonomy, and a code of ethics, continuing education and specialized knowledge, and then being that regulatory body to, sanitize the nutrition and dietetics environment in the country. Please, next slide. Well, so I don't know the thought process for Della bringing this, but there's the beauty or the break. And I don't know what he's trying to think where work things. I won't comment so much, but I feel like it's beautiful. It's beautiful to come together, and then sometimes within the coming together, the specializations are also very important, and they work in different conditions. Next slide, please.
So, hello, can you hear me?
So please,
Yes,
the work that is yet undone, please, if you can do that.
Yes, so thank you so much for standing in. I apologize for the network challenges. But basically what I'm seeking to say here is that we are looking at building a journey that is leading us to what we call the registered dietitian nutritionist with specialty areas, which we have discussed over time. And that involves rescoping our curriculums, rescoping our establishing a college that would ensure a postgraduate college that will ensure the professional accreditation of our programs, and also ensure that we are building a network of professionals who understand what needs to be done and are able to do it at the highest educational or professional qualification possible. The work we've started is a long journey. It is not possible, it is achievable, and we believe that together we can do that. And that is why we are in these forums to have these discussions and to encourage ourselves that we are working together to build one professional body. And the picture before this slide was to say that we are two arms of one tree. The beauty is that if we look at it carefully, we are beautiful together. And if we work together, the beauty in our diversity is what will make us unique as professionals. And I hope that together we can achieve that. Thank you so much for the time. And once again, sincerest apology for the internet challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Percival, for this. Okay, so I guess we'll just move straight away to have Dr. Kingsley Perko give his opening address. So, Dr. Perko, over to you.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I need to show my face, but unfortunately I'm playing a dual role and I'm not too sure my background will be a welcoming background. Let me just try it. Okay, well, I think I have a good background. Today marks a very important day on the calendar, on the global calendar for food. And to me, in my personal home, it's also a very exciting day where my daughter took her first holy food. So I'm playing a dual role this morning as a father and also as a president of an organization. So pardon me for where I find myself. But all the same, we have all the gadgets intact, and I believe that you will hear me clearly. I hope everyone can hear me well. So,
yes, please, you can.
Yeah, let me just start by taking us through a little bit of history about the World Food Program and why GAND is so much into these issues as well. The World Food Day actually is supposed to be on the 16th of October, which we all agree that it will be on Sunday. But as fate has it, when this happens, we take a day early to also play our role. And various organizations are playing their role in celebrating this day with various symposiums and stuff like that. Yesterday, I was actually, 2 days ago, I was actually in Legon, where FAO also invited us to more of a stakeholder forum on nutrition, food security, and climate change. And it was quite a very interesting program, looking at the nexus in energy, in food, and then in water. The day was actually well agreed by the 150 members of the UN. Actually on in November 1979. And this has, for many times, been celebrated the world over since 1981. Over the years, the focus has been raising awareness on poverty and hunger. And this year's theme, Sanam, please, there are some people whose mics are on. Can you kindly mute them for us? If your mic is on. And this year, this year's theme is on leaving no one behind. But for the last year, actually following last year's issue of safe food now for healthy tomorrow, as last year's theme. But this year, we're looking at leaving no one behind. And if it is leaving no one behind, then it means that we need to create a platform where everyone can have equal opportunity for access, for growth, and then for his or her development. Now, I just want to see some headlines of the global scope of nutrition and food security and why we need to be very concerned about these issues. This is from World Food Program, that 345 million people are facing acute food insecurity in 82 countries. And three of the key things of the three key, what I will call the critical C's, that is plaguing the world's food and nutrition situation today. They summarize that into conflict, climate, and then the COVID-19. That is the dangerous C's: conflict, climate, and COVID-19, according to WFP, is what is pushing for some of these lacks in nutrition and food security. Now, another headline, which I picked from FAO, who are those we are celebrating, because actually the day was actually in memory, it's also being commemorated as the founding day of the Food and Agriculture Organization. And the theme for this year is leaving no one behind. And they raised three key issues that are also of concern. That although progress has been made towards a better world, too many people have been left behind. The second aspect also that they raise is that millions of people around the world cannot afford a healthy diet. And the third is that the problem of access and availability to nutritious food, which is increasingly impeded by multiple challenges, including COVID-19. So they also speak about the three C's, which is COVID-19, conflict, and climate change. And in addition, inequalities and rising prices and international tensions, and which we see actually in our world today. And more than 80% of the world lives in extremely poor, living in rural areas. And agriculture and natural resources, they depend largely on agriculture and natural resources for their living. So this is the state we find ourselves in. Lastly, something that also to draw attention to the situation of food is the UN report on the global hunger. And we find a rise in hunger rates to about 828 million since 2021. And key things that we need to note here is that 2.3 billion people in the world, which accounts for about 23%, are moderately or severely food insecure. Nearly 920 million face food insecurity at severe level, not at just a moderate level, but at severe level, which is a cause for concern. There is also gaps in food insecurity that continues to rise. Looking at the disparity, the gender disparity, women are much more affected in these issues. And over 3.1 billion people cannot afford a healthy diet in 2020. And this likely went up by 1.12 million, which means that our issues are gradually increasing. And the worst of it is that, yes, when we ended the Millennium Development Goals, we realized we could not achieve the global targets for nutrition. And we're hoping that SDG is likely to help us meet our race. But this is the projections, looking at the global crisis and issues that are at hand, that we're looking at a projection of nearly 6.7 million, which represent 8% of the population, will still be facing hunger in 2030. So there is a lot that we need to look and a lot that we need to think about. We find the progress towards addressing global targets for nutrition that we would definitely not be able to achieve that. I picked a very a small summary on Ghana, and then also to look at our food environment, since today we want to really look at leveraging the issues within the context of Ghana. And why our focus looked at and looking at an enabling food environment. We find that Ghana is on course in addressing childhood stunting, and also made some progress towards anemia and low birth weight, as well as childhood wasting. However, we are, of course, when it comes to 8 of the 13 targets, global target for nutrition, and which obesity and its associated non-communicable diseases is something that we are not nearing any way addressing this issue. And so to us, when it comes to leaving no one behind, I think that this is a very important area that we need to refocus. We think that this is an important area to refocus our attention. And this is a paper that reviews the food environment, and I pick synopsis of what is happening in Ghana. Thanks to Professor Reginald Annan and his colleagues, did us some good. What are the issues there? The main food sources, we know that we have the traditional markets as our main food sources, but for processed foods, the convenience stores are our major sources of processed foods. And interestingly, I'm sure the convenience stores are more than our traditional markets in Ghana. And so, which means that it makes access to processed foods much more readily compared to accessing our traditional sources of food. And we also realize that the prepared local meals are mainly sourced from the streets. So street foods are gradually changing, are actually dominating in our food environment. And food environment influence acquisition, intake, and outcome. So whatever we are seeing has to do with the environment within which that we are enabling our foods. Where the environment is healthy, we are likely to have good outcomes. Where the environment is unhealthy, we are not likely to have. And interestingly, we are looking for a fiscal policy. And some evidence have shown that fiscal policies have really helped in addressing food nutrition situations. And if you take for Ghana, for example, which the review came up with, that fatty meat restriction policy largely led to the reduction of reduction and availability of fatty meat sales within the country, which means that if we are to look at other things, we can hopefully be able to address our situation through good and implemented fiscal policies. Our focus on driving change in the Ghanaian food environment, the time to act is now, is something that we are focusing on today as we celebrate the World Food Day, because we believe it will create that enabling platform which no one will be left behind and would be supported in accessing healthier and better options of nutrition. Today, as we look at the food environment, it's not just, we are actually narrowing our attention to sugar-sweetened beverage, not because of anything, but the fact that its contribution to the challenges we face today in meeting our global targets is really, 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 really impacting. And sugar-sweetened beverages are really, really of a very serious concern globally, and not only to Ghana, and the need to act on them. Why are we talking about sugar-sweetened beverages? Here, our focus again, we look at the fact that we need to create an enabling healthy food environment. Is one way that we will not leave people behind. And the health effects of sugar-sweetened beverages are worrying to the fact that it's not only leading to obesity and its related consequences. We have dental issues, we have metabolic diseases, we have issues of the urinary stone disease and many other things that really, really affects us in a very, very negative way. We are also concerned about the increased rate of advertisement. And of course, like the research showed, that the environment we create determines the outcome. And these days in our Ghanaian media, I mean, various sugar-sweetened beverages are outlined every day. It's unfortunate because of time, I will not show you what my students did just recently, looking at using the WHO standards to look at most of the processed foods that we have. And to be frank with you, if we use the WHO, Ghana is trying to develop its own nutrient profiling, but just looking at what WHO did for the Afro region, that was the standard we used to look at the foods that we have around us. The processed foods, I could tell you confidently that over 60 to 70% of processed foods in the country do not meet healthier standards. And it should be a cause of concern to us. The taxes on sugar-sweetened beverages provide a triple win for government as they possibly improve the health of people. It improves revenue generation and reduces long-term associated healthcare costs and productivity losses. When we look at these issues of sugar-sweetened beverages, there is a need to act. And the way to act, one of the most useful things that has happened over time has been the taxation on sugar-sweetened beverages. Remember, the issues is about sugar-sweetened beverages. It's not about sugar. It's about sugar-sweetened beverage because it's highly consumed and it's really contributing to a lot of menace in our system. And there's a need to bring that to the attention of Ghana. I will close my submission, one in welcoming everybody to this forum. It's a very important forum that GAND holds dear. As a member of the coalition that is looking at advocating for health, we are strongly going to push until there is something happens to addressing our sugar-based menace. We thank all the, I stand in GAND's name to actually say thank you to all our presenters who have made themselves available, and to all of you who have joined online today. We are so pleased to have you online and be looking out for more of this. Bigger ones are going to come. And we will want to also sincerely apologize for the short notices that came to you. But even that, we so much appreciate the number that is joining. Please share the link if you have it to any friend of yours. It's free and it's a free CPD. You can get your 2 CPD points for free. You can share it to members of other professions to also join this discussion so that we can make a better day. So if you have the link, please share. Don't don't think of the person as a nutritionist before you share the link to share with anybody. We have the YouTube channel also running. I believe that you can share with everyone. So I'll close by saying a better world and a healthier world would require walking the talk of global health decisions and policies. If we are to leave no one behind, then we must go to the law of love, which is to love our neighbors as ourselves in all phases of life. And I believe that with this, I will say thank you again and wish us all a fruitful discussion. Thank you. Over to you, Senam.
Thank you very much, Dr. Parakon. All right, so we just move in straight to have our panel discussion. We have Prof. Reginald Annan, who is going to be the moderator for this session. Prof. Annan.
Thank you very much, Senam, for the introduction. I think that this is the part we are looking out for, because we really feel that if we can talk about these issues around the food environment and how the food environment contributes to the SSB menace, then we can find ways by which it can be tackled from the professional point of view, and then how we can actually implement such the possible interventions through policies and interacting and engaging policymakers. So we have a group of specialists to be on the panel this morning. I will introduce them, and then once I do, then we can begin the discussion. I'm sure they can show their faces. I'm showing my face, but it hasn't come yet, so I don't know what has changed today about the camera. But there are 5 people who are going to help us to discuss this. I wish Senna will give the flyer. You will show the poster of the flyer for this function, so that you see their faces while I introduce them. Okay, thank you so much. So to my far left on that 5 list of panelists is Professor Francis Zoto of the University of Health and Allied Sciences. He doesn't need an introduction. He's a professor of public health nutritionist, public health nutrition, and very passionate about nutrition and dietetics issues in the country. So when you hear him, you know that he's one of the movers in the country trying to make things work. I know him so many years ago in the UK. After many years, he came back to his country to help address our issues. And so we are very glad to have you, Prof. Zoto. Next to him is Mrs. Veronica Quarte. Mrs. Veronica Quarte is the acting head of nutrition in the Ghana Health Services. And I'm sure that very influential people, and then their insights on what we're coming to discuss now will be very important to everyone of us. Next to her is Dr. Emmanuel Alifa. He's an economist and currently the Deputy Country Director of SEND Ghana, a policy researcher and an advocacy organization. And we know that in nutrition in recent years, economists have played important roles in actually estimating the cost of malnutrition and the cost of not doing anything about the nutritional issues. And so having him here will do us a lot of good. Then next to him is Mr. Percy Adomaku Ajekum of the FDA. I've met Percy many times, always in hand and on hand, trying to talk with us and then find solutions to the problems of food and nutrition. And then finally on the panel is Mr. Labram Musa. Okay, somebody was so Mr. Labram Musa is the final person on the panel this morning. He's the director of the NCD Alliance. And we know NCD Alliance and Ghana Public Health Association are both collaborating in this project advocacy for health, which what we are doing currently this morning is part of. Your big faces and giving me five panel members, then we'll be very glad. We know that you are around, that we can do. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Prof. Doctor, I can hear you. Mrs. Veronica Quarte, please, are you here? Okay, we don't know yet. Dr. Emmanuel Aifa, please, are you here with us?
Yes. Yes, I'm around.
Thank you very much as well. Mr. Percy Adomako Ejekum, please, are you here?
Yes, please, I'm here, Prof. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Percy. Thank you, thank you. And Mr. Labram Musa, please, if you're here, let us know. Okay, we've not heard his voice yet, but as you can see, several are around, so we'll start, and then I'm sure sometimes when people are on the Zoom day, they can be distracted a bit. So we'll start, and then as we go along, I'm sure if they come on, they will join us. So panel, probably I will start with Prof. Zotto. And the question that I want us to have, because usually when you come out with issues that addresses or even faces people who may be involved in one way or the other, the question they're going to ask you, the first question they're going to ask you is, what is the evidence? What is the evidence? So my question to the panel, and I will start with Prof. Zotto, what is the evidence so far in Ghana in reference to the food environment? What do we know about Ghana's food environment, the helpfulness or the unhelpfulness of the food environment? What is the evidence? Clearly, what can you tell us to convince us that really the food environment is something that we must be mindful of and must want to address within Ghana?
Thank you very much, Professor Anand. And I want to say a good morning or afternoon to all my listeners and those who have made the effort to come onto this platform. I'm really grateful to the organizers for giving me the opportunity to be able to contribute. And I also want to join my voice to GAND to celebrate today. That marks the anniversary of the founding of the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations. That was mooted in 1945. And this is a very important day also because World Food Program and IFAD, the International Fund for Agricultural Development, also celebrate this day. So across the world, there is this celebration going on. And I remember that for the past 4 years, I've been joining the International Union of Nutritional Sciences to celebrate this day. And so it is no mean day. And indeed, the theme for the World Food Day of Leave No One Behind couldn't be more apt. Because when you look at the food environment in Ghana, and I would want to first touch on the food insecurity and undernutrition, because it's the food environment that is contributing to the challenges that we find for the triple burden of malnutrition. Now, nationally, food insecurity is about 12% nationally across the country. If you go to the rural areas, about 18%, and the urban areas, about 6%. This is based on 2020 figures. It is because of the food environment that we have stunting pegged at 18% nationally. And in the northern region, I'm sad to say, stunting is pegged at 33%. Anemia levels are still high, of 45% among women of reproductive age, and 66% among children. And that is why when they looked at the 5 indicators across Africa, anemia is still a problem for Ghana. Obesity is on the rise, about 41% among women. And the main dietary diversity is 60% for women and 70% for children. So these figures give you an indication that our food environment is becoming, or is a problem. Why is it a problem? It's a problem because we are not able to address the maternal nutritional anemia issues. We are not in a position to address the protein energy malnutrition. We are not in the process to, we are not able to deal with the vitamin A deficiency, and there is lactation failure. Now, this is a continent that has 60% of the world's arable land. What do I mean by that? 60% of the world's arable land is found in Africa, yet Africa is not able to feed itself adequately. And for me, that is a challenge.
Yeah.
We also have challenges with the food environment because there's contamination of our grains and legumes with aflatoxin. Now, it is true that we have such arable land, put anything in the soil. When I drive from Hohoi to Ho, you see vast lands that are not cultivated. Africa is rich. It's we Africans who are poor. And it's about time we rose up to do something about our food environment. It's about time we rose up to say that what is it that we can do to improve our nutritional status? We find a lot of people coming from other countries, other continents, to take advantage of the rich arable land we have in Ghana here. And when they come and they grow the produce, they send them away, either in export or to their countries. And so we have people that are hungry. There's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of food insecurity challenges, challenges related to our health, challenges related to our sustainable consumption. And that for me is a problem. There has to be game-changing solutions if we are supposed to, as a country, improve our food systems. We have problems with our production, we have problems with our storage, and we have problems with our sustainable consumption. And the president of GAND put it that 60 to 70% of processed foods, because of the current inequalities within the Ghanaian food system. That for me, my good friends, is a challenge. And something has got to be done about it. We have major causes and the determinants of malnutrition, which we see around us because we have inadequate dietary diversity. We don't have enough food and nutrient intake, and there's inadequate consumption of foods that are rich in micronutrients and protein. Yes.
Doctor.
Hello?
Thanks. I know you can on and on and on and on. If you for me, hello, hear me.
I can hear you.
Doctor, can hear me?
Yes.
I'm saying that I know you can on and on and on. And for me, what I'm taking from this is that the mere fact that the mean levels of malnutrition, both over and under, are indication of something wrong with our food environment. So thank you very much for making that clear to us. I wanted to ask Percy.
Yes, please, Prof. I'm here.
From where you sit within the AWs, what do you think are the challenges of Ghana's food environment? What are the challenges from the perspective?
Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting FDA to share a perspective on the subject matter. We are very grateful and always prepared and ready to do so, seeking and looking at our mandate, which is basically to protect public health and safety through regulatory products. Therefore, we are grateful. Now, the challenges are enormous, but I'll pick the critical ones. First of all, if you look at the legal framework that as a country we use to regulate the composition of products, especially those that are prepared to put on the market, clearly do not specifically charge on issue of sugar sweetened beverages or the risk factor that affect our health by extension. Our mandate primarily is to ensure that the products we regulate are safe. So all these products, whether sugar sweetened beverages, whether fatty energy, that they are all safe. But to what extent is it healthy or not? That is the subject we have to. So that's the challenge. Unfortunately, when this specifically on the sugar sweetened beverages, the standards that we have on the various products that we regulate, whether fizzle drinks, whether cookies or bakeries, do not have specifically level of permissible sugar content. So in terms of the laws that enable us to regulate the sugar sweetened beverages, it's limited because the standards have not defined the levels permissible per each product specific. That's the first one. The only way we're able to deal with the issue of this challenge is when the manufacturer or the industry itself define the levels as per the label. Then you are regulated per the label claim to ensure that the analysis makes that. That's the first one. Secondly, in terms of even products that are not prepared, for example, the what do you call them? Fast food businesses. These are ready to eat food. So yes, though we regulate their facility and their product, in terms of really defining good the composition, it is also milk. Okay, so these are the very challenges. Now, even in terms of advertisement, currently the laws are also not clearly spelled out what extent to which certain products should not be advertised. We still rely on the general codex guideline health and nutrition claims. We give us the framework, but we must still go further to develop as a country specifics that regulate the products that is of interest for that has high sugar content. So in terms of general, the laws are not really adequate to be able to address the issue. Though we've been able to address it in a way, especially through advertisement, also of the FDA to approve advertising before it goes to the market, give us a lean way to strictly control some of these products. When we get there, I think we will first more detail. But generally, the challenge is one, the legal framework that defines specifically this component or permissible level of sugar products. Prof.
Okay. Somebody should mute spell Kitcher for us. Thank you. All right, so put all that you have said in one sentence. You're basically saying that there are no restrictions when it comes to sugar-sweetened beverages. And Prof. Zotto has told us that the triple burden of nutrition we have, which is undernutrition and then obesity with micronutrient deficiencies, can also be alluded to the kind of food environment we have that don't promote nutritious food but promote energy-dense foods. And you are saying that when it comes to energy-dense foods, including SSBs, there are basically no restrictions on the composition of such foods, especially in regards to SSB, the sugar content. I want to ask Dr. Emmanuel. Please, but what do you think? So would you say, let me put it this way, are sugar-sweetened beverages a problem? Because for us to even be clear and to be very direct that there should be restrictions, that means we know that they are a problem. So the question is that do sugar-sweetened beverages pose any challenges to Ghana's food environment? Why should we focus on sugary drinks or sugar-sweetened beverages? Are they more of a risk when it comes to the food environment? What do you think? What is your take on that? Why should it be that sugar-sweetened beverages is something that we are really talking about and we are trying to address? Dr. Emmanuel.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. I'm Emmanuel Eifa. Hello.
Yes, yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm Emmanuel Eifa. Thanks so much. Let me say that I want to thank you for the opportunity. My background is actually not nutrition, it's economics. However, I'll try and answer your question. It's obvious. I mean, the literature out there clearly indicates the health risk of sugar-sweetened beverages, but within the broader context of looking at its adverse impacts as far as NCDs are concerned. I think when the president, Dr. Preko, was actually making a statement, he clearly indicated about 43% or so of NCDs, of our disease burden contributed by NCD. So, I mean, you don't need a prophet to tell you that, yes, sugar-sweetened beverage is of health concern and risk. It really adds to the disease burden and a health burden. And so that, for me, as somebody who is not a specialist in the health sector, that is what I see. We see incessant increase in obesity situations in children and especially in urban populations. We see incessant increase in diabetes and associated ailments and or NCDs, and I believe sugar-sweetened beverage is a key contributor to that. So that is what I would say about it. But
if you even take it from
to expand, okay.
Taking it from the economic perspective, what do you think? What would you say the challenges? Not even looking at where its impact on health, but the impact of it. I mean, too much. Is it available too much? Is it too accessible? Or in economic terms, what are the challenges we are dealing with when we talk about sugar-sweetened beverages?
Okay, so it's basically what I spoke about is the disease burden and the fact that once we have increase in obesity situations, diabetes and whatnot, that means that it adds to the cost of our healthcare expenditure, first of all, at the household level and also at the country level. And so government need to then always spend so much in terms of helping to take care of health expenditure. I'm actually in the discussion talking about 2023 budget with the Ministry of Finance, which health has been one of the key things. And incidentally, we are also even talking about contribution of NCDs to our health budget or expenditure. And so clearly that is the side that we will look at as economics, the fact that money that could actually be used to cater for certain other sector of the economy, you need to possibly look at it to take care of sugar sweetened beverage related risk. So that is basically how they are looking at it. And that is why the conversation from our end has been that it's about time government need to look at sort of trying to find a way to disincentivize people from consuming sugar sweetened beverages. And clearly that within economics falls under the broader umbrella of sin taxes. So and the literature actually is out there that when you flap sugar sweetened beverage tax under the broader umbrella of sin taxes, that is going to go a long way, of course, to discourage consumption, while at the same time raising revenue. So for us, we want to push the public health angle of it, but at the same time, the country has the benefit of getting revenue from that, while discouraging people from consuming such in huge quantities.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I was going to ask you that in next question, but you've touched on it. I'll come back to that. What are the economic benefits of having sweetened beverage restrictions or taxation? But I like to have said this aspect. What I'm thinking from what you have just said is the economic burden of the disease burden. So we're not saying that malnutrition and overweight and obesity are not problems on their own. They pose a disease burden, and there's an economic burden to a disease burden because you need money to manage and prevent and then treat diseases. And then if people who get diseases and they cannot work, they lose productivity, and the families that they dependent on them are all suffering. And that is like you cannot disassociate the economic burden of any disease burden. But I am told that before you count the benefits, they say categorically, I'm told Prof. I is met. So I want to ask Prof. I to throw some light on not only the challenges of SSB, but what are the alternatives? What are the alternatives to having, because you're a nutritionist, so telling people avoid this, then must be something that they must focus on or you must emphasize. So what are the alternatives? Prof. Ayi, if you are here with us, Prof. Ayi is a professor of nutrition from the University of my teacher about many years ago. Prof. Ayi, are you there? Professor Ayi. We seem not to, people are having challenges with, okay, so he's having challenges, it's okay, he's in something that's at the moment. But I want to read a comment from Prof. Zotto on the chat. Please, colleagues online with us, you can also put comments in the chat box. We'll be reading the comments as we move along. So I see Prof. Zotto's comments and other comments. I'll read them, then we move on. The first one is from Frederica O2 says, great presentation. Professor says, our food environment is suffering for a number of reasons. Currently, Galamsey in 10 out of 16 regions bring about land and crop degradation, drought in certain parts of our country, especially in the northern part of Ghana, is a challenge for us. For Dr. Paul Amankuna says the number is even 12, not 16. And Prof. Soto comes again, says sugar acts on the same areas of the brain as alcohol and tobacco.
ample evidence suggests that the consumption of sugar creates neurological changes in the brain that also occur with addictive drugs. This releases chemicals that create euphoria and pleasurable feeling, and that might be expected to have addictive potential. So then Collins' economy is driven by it's also largely dominated by transfers and traders and importers. Currently, traders/importers are agitating about the negative impact of high taxes on their businesses. In view of this, would imposing taxes on SSB be a viable option to curb their negative effects on the populace? This is a question. Dr. Emmanuel, let me say Emmanuel because I'm not getting the surname well. Please, can you say something about it? Because it's an economic question. People are already complaining about taxes and high cost of living. And now, if you mention taxation of SSB, will it not be an increased burden on already the burden that they think they have? What would you say about that, Dr. Emmanuel?
Okay, thank you very much. Before then, let me quickly just highlight your earlier concern about what are the benefits. So I said that there's benefits, first of all, of course, at the household level, because you're not going to spend so much in terms of taking care of your health once you take in a lot of sugar sweetened beverages and its adverse impact. Similarly, the economy, the general country gains because the country is not going to spend so much money in taking care of the sick. Coming to the substantive issue of taxation, the argument has been, and I remember we met Ministry of Health and Ghana Health Service when we were doing some work with NCD Alliance looking at tobacco and alcohol. And for us as people working, the idea is that one push the public health agenda or argument. It's not so much, but the argument is that it's important to look at the adverse impacts of in the US, there are studies in Mexico, there are studies in South Africa to suggest that yes, when you actually flat taxes on sugar sweetened beverages and sin taxes in general, it does reduce people's consumption, and for that matter, it has positive impact on individuals and the economy as a whole. In terms of the overburdening of people, as far as our taxes is concerned, yes, it's a general concern, but then the fact is also that if you really look at our tax to GDP ratio as a country, we are doing very little. We are doing around 15 or so percent. Looking at our peers in terms of where our economy is as a middle income country, we should be doing around 22 or so percent. The Deputy Minister of Finance, as I said, I'm in another meeting now, is just highlighting the difficulties in the challenge the current economy and the fact that revenues are not coming in at all. So taxation is one of the ways to go. And the fact is that we are not looking at people so much. The point is that anyway, so once the tax is introduced, obviously producers in the burden to consumers. So that is obviously going to increase the price. And for that matter, we think that people are going to be overburdened. But then the point is that once you do that, and research has shown, the evidence is there in the countries that are mentioned, over 40 or so countries. The evidence suggests that people are going to, not everybody per se, but a greater proportion are going to reduce consumption of SSBs, and they may shift to other alternatives. And that once that is done, the obvious implication is that you are not going to once you are shifting, it's not going to hit you hard in terms of let me put it like that tag and airplane, not going to affect your pocket so much. So, yes, so we understand that there are a lot of taxes. I read on the platform somebody is talking about the informal sector and the fact that we are burdened with taxes. But the angle we are coming to is that this is a tax to disincentivize people from consuming harmful products, which is a public health issue. So once people are going to be discouraged by the prices on it, I believe that that is the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. You know, I am so excited. There's so many comments coming in, and there's other things to talk about. I don't even know where to start from. Adam's hand is up. Adam, I'll call you in a minute. So don't put your hand down. And I think I want to add to the question from Colin about the burden of the taxation or income tax is also the fact that we have done a review as part of this work and is yet to be published. But the review, the economic impact of taxation from other countries show that production also doesn't necessarily reduce. People reformulate their products to have sugar levels that meet the requirements, thereby reducing the risk of diseases, especially overweight, obesity, and NCDs. And therefore, it's not really, they don't lose business, but then they reformulate. Then they also show that for those that don't reformulate, they add that taxation onto the cost, and therefore people reduce their consumption. And those who, when they pay the tax to the government releases money, and then that goes into health promotion activities. So it's actually a win-win from what the review is showing, and it will be published soon. So stay put. I hope that we'll publish this journal, this reviews, not in international journal, but like maybe Ghana Medical Journal, so that it is for Ghanaians and Ghanaians get to read them. But before I come to you, Ed, let me read two more comments so that we don't do service to those online. Jemima Bauer is saying that with daily increase in NCDs, of which majority are associated with our increasing consumption of these sugary beverages, my question is that why then do we have the FDA giving license to more production of these beverages at the detriment of the health and safety of the Ghanaians? And I'm going to ask Percy not talk much on this, but just 2 sentences, because they have a long way to go in their hands and comments. So Percy, Bauer Chima is asking why licensing is, I think an idea, but I'll let you have the floor since you are the expert. Percy, please.
Yes, Prof, the line was breaking up. If you could repeat the question for me. Thank you very much.
So Jima is asking why FDA still gives licensing or license to SSB production and importation, even though the NCDs are on the rise. And I want you to say something briefly on that for us. Why?
Okay, Prof, thank you. I think it's clearer. And in my summary, I said if you look at FDA's mandate, is to ensure public health and safety to regulated products. So the question is, the food that we put out there, are they safe? I would say 100% they are safe. What the client, what the person is seeking to is more of education, advocacy, because all these sugar switching beverages, we need the sugar. I don't think sometimes we don't need them, but the level, the quantity is what we are talking about. So that one, there is another way that can be addressed. Prof, are you with me?
Okay. Yes, I'm listening. Yeah, you are making points.
Yes, we have to register them because there's nothing wrong having sugar beverages on our market. Our main concern is safety. If you look at the microbial safety, chemical contaminants, once all these things are cleared, we have no reason not to give the market authorization. And of course, there are so many other things that FDA is available for FDA and other government agencies and society to deal with their concern. So, for example, after the products have been registered, in terms of advertisement, that's when I'm citing. Sometimes you cannot, for example, advertise sugar-sweetened beverages together with the main food that we eat, whether alcohol and all those things. We don't allow that. And also in terms of projecting certain nutrition attributes based on, for example, fortification. Let me use, for example, fortification. For the fact that to fortify a sugar-sweetened product with micronutrients, FDA regulation will not allow you, for example, to make a claim like contain vitamin A for your eyes, contain this, that boosts your immunity. These are controls that we use not to project food that by its composition are unhealthy. Prof, are you getting me?
Yes. So Percy, thank you very much. I mean, you've nailed it right on the head. And the mandate for FDA is about safety, hygiene, and all that. We don't currently have a nutrient profiling system where we have standardized to be in SSB with regards to sugar levels, and therefore you cannot prevent somebody from having. And I think this we've heard it many times. This is why we are moving into the next level where we are now saying that there should be a clear policy to say that when it comes to sugar in SSBs, should be attract an extra tax, and therefore it becomes like another market that you can work with. Thank you so much. Now it's clear to us, and I wish that I'm hoping that you get your question will be short, your comment will be brief, like 2 minutes, so that the comments are here can be read, and then also so that Labram is online, and Provider is also online. Mrs. Veronica Court is also online, so we can get them to all comments. So Adam, your hand has been up long, so say something briefly. Don't make it very snappy.
Okay, thank you very much. And I want to say good morning to everyone. I'm at UHAS, and I think the discussion is important, but my comment is that taxation alone wouldn't solve the issue of SSBs, because it will only address a small portion of it. So whilst we are looking at the taxation aspect, trying to impose taxes on these SSBs, what we can also do is that we should look at it comprehensively, as in a holistic approach. We can look at some alternatives. Then that means we have to encourage people to also use the fresh fruits instead of relying on the SSBs. And how do we do that? And I think Prof. Joto made a comment that we are not producing enough in terms of what we have currently. So we should also encourage our farmers, even not if our farmers, most of us should be encouraged to venture into the fruit production, so that once we are discouraging others from using the SSBs, then we can have enough fruit to also feed the population. And then also our health promotion, should I say, unit or department that we have currently in Ghana should also, be encouraged to educate the populace on some of the benefits of using fresh fruit instead of relying on the SSBs. And I think with this, we'll be able to reduce the way we consume the SSBs. Thank you.
So much, Adam. And I think that you have touched on the question that we asked earlier on about the alternatives. So, and I'm glad we are not trying to say do one thing, of course, but you must take one step at a time. And so we are trying to look at, there are different things that can be done to address the food environment, because the food environment is not just SSB. SSB is just one. But we just picked SSB as an example. And if there are many things you can do, one of them is increasing tax so that people will do more reformulation and then people will reduce their consumption. And then that you've added, apart from that, alternatives means that we must have fruits available, accessible, and there must be health promotion for people to like the fruits rather than to like the the SSV, because the SSV that have been done from the fruits is sugary, and also the fiber in the fruits is lost. So and the combined advocacy and other things are or must be part and parcel of the approach. Taxation is just one of them, but that we must look at. Mr. Labram, are you online with us?
Yes, I'm here.
I heard you. Great. I want you to ask you this specific question coming from NCD Alliance. Do we need a fiscal policy on SSB in Ghana? And will it work? What do you think?
Yes, thank you very much, Prof. I think I've listened to a wide range of discussions and suggestions and all of it. And I think that clearly, I think from all the speakers, I think only from Mr. Percy, Dr. Percy, who I've not heard him talk about whether tax will work or not. But I think that clearly, indeed, taxation of fiscal measures is one of the most effective, way. I mean, it has been proven, as Dr. Emmanuel mentioned, that one of the most effective means to reduce, consumption of health-harming commodities in this world today is through taxation. And clearly, as he mentioned, once government makes a decision, termination, it's all about commitment for us. I mean, that's why we keep on advocating that. See, government should look at what other countries are doing and the results they are getting. And indeed, as you yourself mentioned, Prof, I know currently there's a lot happening with respect to sugar sweetened beverages and taxation, and whether Ghana is ready for it and whether it's feasible for Ghana or not. Indeed, I mean, once the literature is showing that many countries have done it, and most of these countries too are not, above Ghana. Just Nigeria here, just recently increased tax, on sugar sweetened beverages. And in fact, the objective for this tax increment is to do nothing but to reduce the extent to which it's causing harm, is destroying, the economy. Let me put it like that. Because if you look at the cost-benefit analysis, as Dr. Emmanuel mentioned, the health burden far outweighs, the benefit that that individuals take to get. Because it's about individuals, few people who are in the industry, who are producing this product for majority of people to consume. So you're talking about, let's say, about 3 to, let's say, 1,000. Because the benefit goes to just few people. And they always will claim that they employ people. Yes, we are not saying you're not employing people, but yes, their industry is doing employment. But the point is that how many people are they even employing? I mean, to be threatening, governments all over the world that when government imposes taxes, this and this will happen. So for me, indeed, once the literature is showing, there are many case studies in many countries. South Africa is one, Mexico is one. If you go to Nigeria here, our colleagues is one. Indeed, the picture is clear that taxes is one of the most effective measures. But of course, as somebody mentioned, it's not only taxes. We are looking at other measures. And indeed, that's why for me, I think that FDA always comes into the picture, because, the issue of our porous borders, not FDA and then the immigration, the issue of our porous borders, because I believe all of us have been attending programs, events on weekends, either it's a birthday party, a wedding ceremony. Just monitor the drinks that is being served. Most of the drinks that is being served that we see, most of them are not approved by FDA. But you ask yourself, where are these drinks coming from? And they are not also homemade, because we know that.
Hello?
They're homemade, people who. Hello, sorry, please. Can I be heard still?
We can hear you, but you were cut a bit. So if you just get snappy for us, you have made a lot of points, definitely a lot of points.
Yeah, sure. So I'm just wrapping up. So if you go to this event, we find a lot of these, these products that people serve, sugar sweetened beverages, they are not meant for our market, but they are all over the place. So our porous borders is one. If you're able to work closely with the GRA, our migration officers, we will be able to reduce the amount of and indeed, it is not only sugar sweet beverage. We also have alcoholic beverage. Currently, the FDA regulates alcoholic beverage, so it's all part of the food environment. Now, lastly, the last thing I want to mention that also our school environment, we also need to check that. But see, I mean, people must, if possible, must have license before you are able to even sell some of these products. Because once a product has that kind of health, implication, then we need to look at it very well and critically before we.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Labram. Like Prof. Zotto, I'm sure you can go on access. You can go on and on and on and on. So thank you. I want to say that you have made strong points that is it necessary? Yes, it's necessary. That's the key question. Will it work? Yes, it will work. Why? It has worked in the global north. If that is not enough, it has worked in some of the lower middle income countries that within the global south. But when you come down to sub-Saharan Africa, it has worked within the sub-region of sub-Saharan Africa, which is within our own West Africa. Our own neighbors are doing it. It's beginning to work. It is not targeting at, it's like destroying a business, but targeting at reducing accessibility to promote health. And if we use the example of when we had the standard on fatty meat, which reduced the access to fatty meats in the country, you would even know that because of the standards, things that are coming in must be controlled. And so you can change your business and just like reformulating, as we mentioned. And but you'll see that by those standards, turkey tails and chicken feet and all that don't meet it, and they are not supposed to be in the country, but borders. So that your neighboring countries may not have such restrictions, and then things can come in. But you will still see the effect of the policy, because you can see clearly that reduction in, let's say, those times turkey tails and that we had them in so many quantities, you don't have them like that anymore. Several hands are up, and I can tell you this is one of the most exciting discussions we've had. There are over 40 chats. We can't even read them, and so I'm so excited with so many hands up. But before I ask one more question, and then also allow those hands, because something has been said on FDA Percy must address. But let me read a few more of the chats to do them also, to also be fair to those that are online. And I won't read all, but because there are many, but I will read a few. So something Akamponga Bonga says, can we suggest through Ghana Health Services boss here to ban SSB in basic school? So this one is not even taxation, but banning. That's another area, school food environment. And it may be addressed, we can address it at a different level, but we must pick a bite and chew at a time. Joseph Collins Kodom says the prevalence of anemia in Ghana has increased due to the approaching strategy at the health facility level. The approach should be multi-sectoral. We know multi-sectoral. That's why we have many groups even within GAND. In this meeting, we have economists, we have other people, and so that we are looking at things multi-sectorally. Justina Sewa also says, great presentation. Please, why can't FDA require nutrient label on sugar SSB? That has been answered already. We said currently we don't have a profiling system, so you cannot restrict, but you can restrict based on safety and other things, which they are doing, and they are doing very well. Mr. Labran just said that they see products that don't have FDA approval. Percy, I'm going to ask you to do it, to answer that quickly, but let me read a few more of the chats. Francis Soto says, I would rather place huge taxes on SSB and save lives than profits. And so that is answering directly why we must have it. It should be there. Agatha Ohemen says, taxation on SSB now may not be well received, but if it is presented holistically with adverse impact, it will be. Yes, it will be received, because we are going to talk about the health impact of the problem, and then what you stand to gain if you address the problem. I'll read two more. Solomon Aqua says the public has mostly shared concerns about the fact that we mostly ask them to consume fruits and vegetables, which are mostly eaten in raw state. And these same foods are contaminated with pesticides and other chemicals that are poisonous to consume. How do we address this? It's a problem, truly. So when we go to the alternative to SSB, where we tell people don't drink SSBs or reduce your intake of them and then eat more fruits and vegetables, there are issues around the fruit and vegetable value chain which must be addressed. And then we would be in that position when we get there to also start to address them. Like I said, pick a bite and chew and then swallow, then you go again. This is how nutrition works, even when it comes to eating food. Timothy Dude says, I suggest that something should be done concerning advertisements on social media of harmful food products. Yes, that is another level altogether, and that must also be addressed. Like in a comprehensive way, there are so many things we must talk about and do. There are so many the comments, so I will pause now and ask Percy quickly say something, and then Mrs. Veronica Quarter is here. Then she would also comment on some of the things we have said so far.
Okay, Prof, thank you. I think a lot of the messages that you read was on FDA, but I will give a summary. And thank you for answering some of them. Reaffirming that our mandate is for public health and safety. So once the product is safe, FDA have no reservation but to give market authorization. Now, two things I want to say. Yes, my position and that matter, FDA really don't have problem reusing taxes as one of the means of controlling the availability and also people having access to sugar-sweetened beverages. But personally, I believe that in other countries, there is also evidence about that products that have incurred high level of taxes, alcohol, tobacco, have still not stop people from actually taking those products. Therefore, though they are good, there should be other means that should be added on to be able to effectively deal with the issue. And FDA believes strongly that compositional regulation is ultimately one of the surest way, especially when it comes to advertising, because everybody knows advertisement drives sales, advertisement drives consumption. That's why these products, if you check the instrument that actually drive the access is advertisement. And once again, we have evidence because there is someone also wanted to find out what, for example, I'm entering the FDA say we don't allow food to be advertised sugar-sweetened beverages, but rather we see KFC being advertised with sugar-sweetened beverages. It is true, but once again, regulation you don't check the industry, or you don't just be introduced and abruptly. Everybody have seen this. So even us as an organization, just this year, we've done the nationwide research on effect of advertisement on NCD. So for example, this area of fast food products that is increased on our market is one of the key areas that we've touched. And we finished, we want the evidence base, the database to actually now effectively regulating them. Don't forget, our law allows us to vet registered product. The food that fast food brands produce are ready to eat food. They are not registered. That is it. But their safety are checked in other ways. So once we're able to now bring them in through a data, through stakeholder engagement to now regulate the advertisement, then they cannot be adding that particular sugar-sweetened beverage as a complement, as a promotional material for the product they sell. So yes, we have all these things, and the way we are going, our guidelines for regulation is moving into that direction. Once when it comes to the nutrition labeling that I was calling for, we see FDA position based on Ghana's position. As at the last CODES meeting that FBA attended, Ghana's position was that we are looking at the industry, the ability to actually test the nutrition information and the micronutrients. At that time, Ghana's position was that we haven't reached there because our industry is also very fragile. And therefore, if, for example, we should start introducing mandatory nutrient labeling, what it means that our export is also going to be affected by that. So that was the point. But currently, when we reach, based on the communication with the industry and research and academia, and now we also have evidence that the laboratories at minimum is able to do the macro analysis, which is the macronutrients. So yes, as we are we are going into that direction to actually making the nutrient labeling mandatory, but also progressively. So as a regulator, you do some of these things in a progressive way so that one, you don't destroy your industry. At the same time, the health and safety of the public regulate through the products are also taken care of. So, Prof, this is
thank you so much, Percy. Thank you so much, Percy. Before I come to Mrs. Veronica Quote, I will just read a few more. Somebody says this is an important activity and the discussions should be widely disseminated. I agree with you. We are working on it. Of course, this must go far beyond those that came for this meeting. Patricia Adams says the Nutrition Friendly Schools initiative would help hugely if it is well done. The school environment should be nutrition friendly. So school environment is one of the food environment, physical food environments we must address. And that's beyond the scope of this. But if this SSB taxation works, then it will also address the food environment, the school food environment in the way, because what you have in the food environment of the school will be much healthier. Francis Agboke says the food environment has nutritious of that the industries did not close down, they rather innovated, and therefore they didn't lose money. And the few that were happy to still continue.
Hello?
Hello. Hello.
Mr. Quote, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Kingsley. Can you hear me, please, Kingsley? Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Thank you very much. I'm very sorry for joining so late. Kingsley, you knew my challenges, so I hope you bear with me. Yes, so even though I joined the discussion very late, I have followed the trend of the discussion. And from what I have heard so far, it means we all agree that the sugar-sweetened beverages are something that are harmful for the health of Ghanaians, and therefore we need to do something about it. I want to reiterate that when we talk about sugar-sweetened beverages, don't let's also think only about the ones that has been bottled or put in packets that we buy. We should also consider the ones we prepare at home ourselves, including our coffees and our teas and our Milos that with too much sugar in it. They are all part of what we are talking about. For those, we can regulate ourselves by changing our lifestyle and changing the amount of sugar or the type of beverages that we drink. For the commercial ones, there are so many ways of handling these issues, and I don't think there is one single way of doing it. It should be a combination of interventions and strategies. So yes, one of the ways is making sure that we get our profiling right so that we can put limits at what we expect to be on the market, the concentrations of sugar, of sodium, of fat, saturated fat, those that we know are harmful, the levels that we expect in products on our shelves. There is also the regulation issue where we need to enforce the regulations. Once this profiling are there and then labeling have been part of the things we want to do, putting labels. We need to enforce this. So regulations on labeling are also very, very important that we need to look at. Then also comes taxation, the pros and cons of taxation. I mean, in some countries, taxation has helped. For instance, in the US, taxation has helped to bring down the levels of sugar-sweetened beverages that people consume. But we cannot put it squarely on the fact that they are taxed. There are other interventions that goes along with it. And that is why we also want to look at the SB60 aspect of it. We need to conscientize our people. We need to conscientize everybody, educate people. These beverages are not good for your health. And therefore, there are alternatives, healthier beverages to drink. There are alternatives. Fruits are there to eat, whole fruits are there to eat. The alternatives, water with some dash of lemon or something. We need to conscientize people and teach people. It will take time. And that is why the whole lifestyle issue is very, very important. Getting people to change their lifestyle, not just eating the drinking of sugar-sweetened beverages, but even the sodiums, the trans fats, and the saturated fats. We need to look at it holistically, because in actual fact, it is not only sugars that are causing the NCDs hike that we see. All these other dangerous nutrients, let me put it in quotes, are culprits. That is why I read in the chat that somebody has mentioned the Nutrition Friendly School Initiative, and it is very, very important that we start teaching our children from school to know how to select healthy beverages. And that is why even before regulations and taxations and things are coming, we at Ghana Health Service are looking at the school food environment. What do we want to be on the school compound for children to have access to? And one of the things we are strongly talking about is the fact that we don't want school vendors to sell these sweetened beverages there. We don't want toffees on our school compound. We don't want Abele wash and those things on our school compound. It requires commitment, but by parents, by all agencies, and by teachers and the students themselves. So what I'll say is that there's no one way of dealing with this issue. We have to look at all the possible interventions that can help to bring this down. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Veronique. We have just 10 minutes to end the whole show. And so I think that I really think we had a very important discussion. We started a discussion. It is clear to us that SSBs are a menace. Something must be done about them. A combination of strategies and interventions, everybody agrees. Not only taxation, but we also think that we can start from somewhere, and taxation is one of them. Once we start with good taxation, health promotion, social behavior change, communication are very, very important. Alternatives to sugar-sweetened beverages, and they reported, so they become things you're saying here has been answered in so many ways. Yeah. You promotion to get people to use the alternatives. So everybody wins. And then if you look at even the economic impact already of the health, adverse health effects of SSBs, then that impact of businesses losing business, which is just for a few people, is completely nullified. And the review will come out soon. And so there are many more messages, and I'm afraid that I can't allow you again because our time is up. And our time is up, and I don't know whether it says, well, just for 5 minutes for the time to go. I want us to know clearly that, Adam, I'll advise that you can put in the chat. If you want to still say something, just put it in the chat. But if not, our time is up. I would say that for me, today has been such exciting. We had over 300 people online at our peak in the morning of Friday talking about this issue. That tells me I've attended so many Zoom meetings over the past 2-3 years since COVID. And one of this attendance for me is phenomenal. And it tells me how much this is dear to the heart of Ghanaians, starting from the professionals. And therefore, if you take it out there, it's something that will be embraced. And of course, the promotion, the advocacy is also very, very important. So with this said, I would like to go back to the rest of the program, which you're supposed to do from 11:55 to 12 noon. And invite our MC to take over, so that she will be able to invite Mrs. Pearl Salome to do the closing remarks. But back to Senam first, then Senam can continue with the rest of the program.
Thank you, Prof. Anand. Thank you very much. Thank you all for taking part in this World Food Day virtual symposium. We've had great conversations, great discussions, and I know that after this is not going to be the last. We're going to have more discussions and do our best as GAND members, as Ghanaians in all parts, to do better to ensure that our food environment is safe for our children and also for ourselves. So please, if you're a GAND member, kindly click on the link I have shared in the chat so that we can use that to upload. We'll send that to AHPC for your PIN renewal. You are going to share the attendance for all AHPC members. So if you're a GAND member and you're an AHPC member, please fill out the Google form that has been shared in the chat. All right, so thank you all once again. Mrs. Salome, over to you.
Thank you, Senam. Please, we are praying. Heavenly Father, we thank you. Sorry.
Sorry, before then, just a little word of appreciation to everyone from me. And I think the conversation has just begun, and we hopefully will be coming your way with another of such conversations. So thank you all, and thanks to Greta and everyone for coming to our aid. Senam, please,
thank you very much, sir. I'm most grateful,
share
sir.
the link.
Thank you very much, President.
Was supposed to be a closing address and remarks before President Salome.
Right.
Yes.
Senam, please reshare that Google Doc because it's not showing, and those whose link were cut along the way.
Yes, Dr.
It is showing, it has come.
All right, so this is Salome.
Okay. I think we all agree it's been a very fruitful session. Like Prof. Anand said, this is the very first Zoom meeting I've ever attended, and we still have over 200 people still on the call. So it tells us how committed we are all to see change. I hope we keep the momentum to see the change that we wish to see for all Ghanaians in the next coming years. So at this juncture, I would like to say a word of prayer to close the meeting. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much once again for a very successful meeting. At the beginning, we called on you to see us through for a successful one. We thank you that with your grace, we've been able to come to a very successful discussion. We hope and pray that you continue to guide us and see us through to be able to make the impact we wish to see for our dear country. Thank you. As we go through the rest of the day, please carry us through and protect us all. In Jesus' name we pray with thanksgiving. Amen.
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 MC, close us.
Amen. You don't say amen.
So MC, close us.
Do visit the GAND online.org to also register to be members if you are not registered. Thank you all. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.
Have a fruitful weekend.
Bye.
Members of the committee, remember we'll have a meeting on that.
The gun was